When I was younger, my favorite part of the year was the summer, and 2009 wasn't any different. I didn't hate school. However, after 10 months of rigorous studying, waking up at 6 in the morning, and having to deal with some teachers let's just say, didn't get along with, the 2 months off I was about to get was certainly welcome. Living deep in the country offered the freedom to basically go wherever I wanted to, without any fear of repercussions. After finishing my chores, picking clover for the rabbits, and watering our animals, the day was open. I usually went for a hike deep in the woods near my house. After walking a bit on the unpaved road, I would come across the decaying remains of an abandoned home. This is usually where I would eat my lunch. The home was overlooking an immaculate field, surrounded by nothing but wilderness. This place is under 15 minutes from my home, but I truly felt alone, cut off from anything with a recent human touch. I loved the country, but it did have its drawbacks. Bears for one, another, being cut off from nearly all of my friends. The forest was nice, but after a while of seeing the exact same thing over and over again, quickly becomes depressing. That's where Chisholm's Mill comes in. Chisholm's Mill is a dam about half an hour on a bike ride from my home. I assume it's not different from any other dams. Strong current, snakes, turtles, fish, and sharp rocks resting at the bottom of the water. It was just a place for me to go for a nice swim or to catch some fish. I'm thankful I live near the dam. It offered me an escape from my secluded forest. Usually when I arrive, the place would be full of people swimming, sunbathing on the rocks, or fishing for channel cat under the waterfall. But today was different. The place was empty, or at least I thought it was. The shock on your body going from the extreme heat to the freezing cold is unavoidable. So, I feel the best way to make the transition is to just jump in, instead of going in slowly. I would dive in and get it over with. I took off my clothes and made my way towards the bridge. I stepped over the railing and took a deep breath. Before I could dive in, my concentration was interrupted by a woman screaming. The old lady appeared from the brush and started waving her hands wildly. I couldn't hear what she was saying. However, I quickly realized she was making her way towards me. This lady wasn't exactly intimidating. A little heavy, with short curly gray hair and average height. But we were alone. I never met this woman before in my life, and had no clue what she would do when she reached me. She also came out of the bush, and I had no clue of knowing if she was with anyone. Before she could reach me, I ran to my bike and rode as fast as I could towards home. When I got home, I couldn't help thinking what I had done wrong. I wasn't naked, I had boxers on, so that couldn't be it. Or maybe it was. The old lady could have been a prude, and didn't want to see a 14-year-old boy with barely anything on. I then realized I was still in my boxers. The old lady never gave me the time to get my clothes. I rode from Chisholm's Mill to my house in my underwear. I chuckled for a moment and went inside to grab a beer. My dad was at work and I figured I earned it. I could have died after all. The next morning I would go back and grab my clothes. I mean, she wouldn't still be there. Besides, even if she was, I doubt she would recognize me. We were so far from each other, the only thing I could make out was her hair. The next morning, I got up bright and early and made my way towards Chisholm's, and, to my relief, the old lady was nowhere in sight. Even better, my clothes were still where I left them, so at least she wasn't a pervert. I looked over to the water and figured since I'm here I may as well go for a swim, and like before I made my way towards the bridge. I decided to keep my clothes on just in case. I'm not a fan of this, as if you ever jumped into the water with a shirt on, you know your shirt goes over your head, obstructing your vision, and makes it difficult to see where you are going. I stepped over the rail and closed my eyes again. But just like yesterday, I heard her.
Hey, what are you doing?
I looked over and there she was, making her way towards me. I said screw it and waited for her. If she does try to hurt or grab me, I would just jump into the water and swim to shore. She was already past my bike at this point, so there is no use in trying to run anyway. The woman stops a few feet from me, and in an angry and annoyed tone says again,
What are you doing?
Um, swimming? The woman reaches out her hand and points to the sign.
Well, can you not see the sign?
I didn't have to look over. I already knew the sign she was talking about. Plastered on a rusted out building is a sign warning people to stay away from the dam. Yes, I do. But people jump in all the time. In fact, the lady cut me off.
That's why people die.
The woman is looking directly at me.
You kids don't listen. When I was a kid, my brother jumped in here, and he never came back up. That sign exists for a reason.
The woman didn't have a look of hate in her eyes, but one of fear.
I'm just gonna warn you. Don't be an idiot.
The lady then turned around and walked back down towards the brush. I didn't know what to do. I stayed frozen for a few minutes. Finally, I walked towards my bike and went home. I couldn't stop thinking about what she said. Her brother never came back up. So is he still in there? Is his body still somewhere in that river? She also looked about 60. So even if he was, would anything be left? I also then began to think about that sign. I'm positive people drown all the time in rivers, but I've never seen a sign. How many people would have to die to issue that statement? 10? 50? 100? Chisolms Mill is a beautiful place, but I truly wonder how many lives have ended in that water. So, I'm reaching out. If anyone watching this knows of anyone who died in that river, I would like to speak with you. Maybe we can organize something to remember them. And it's highly unlikely, but if you remember telling me about your brother in 2009, I would like to speak to you again, or at least offer my condolences to you and your family.